Amarillo.
Gracias, maestro. No, voy a interpretar el Testamento de Amelia.
Ah, ¿no vas a interpretar la catedral?
No,
Ok, ¿es Testamento de Amelia de quién es esta obra?
es una canción popular catalana.
A Catalonian piece, he's saying that he's going to perform Testament of Amelia. It's unknown to me. I don't know it.
Okay. Can I find the sheet music? Is it online?
Let me see. Gaspar, ¿tendrás la partitura que puedas compartirle a la maestra?
Sí, la mando por el chat o por dónde.
Can you receive it via chat, Alexandra?
Hopefully, yeah. I'm not used to using Microsoft Teams, but yeah.
A ver.
O mejor, maestro, quiere que comparta mi pantalla. O no sé, la verdad. Que...
Perdón, Óscar, Gaspar, si pudieras considerar lo de la catedral, porque se le había comunicado a la maestra Alexandra esa posibilidad y ella tiene las partituras ya disponibles.
Pues la verdad no quisiera, maestro, porque, bueno, como usted sabe, voy saliendo de una lesión y ahorita estoy algo frío, entonces no me quiero arriesgar a recaer en la lesión.
Ok.
Ya me preparé con el Testamento de Amelia y pues esto que traigo.
¿Y la obra que compartiste está en el chat?
No.
Bueno, pues sí tenemos un problema aquí.
Sorry?
Yeah, he's saying he's coming out of a lesion he had, and is a bit he didn't warm up, so he's kind of deciding on not to perform La Catedral.
Oh, okay. Whatever you feel most comfortable playing.
Bueno, adelante, por favor, Gaspar.
Okay.
Okay, I've just got the music. Thank you.
Ya recibió la partitura. Muchas gracias.
Send it to myself so that I can look at it away from the laptop.
Thanks. You saved me if I started to play.
Thank you. I'll be 2 seconds, sorry.
Yes.
Okay, whenever you're ready.
Adelante, por favor.
That was lovely, thank you.
Muy bien, gracias.
Again, another piece I haven't played.
Es otra pieza que ella no ha interpretado.
It's a lovely piece though.
Es una pieza encantadora.
The arrangement, I think it's from Miguel Llobet.
Right. Okay. How long have you been playing this?
¿Por cuánto tiempo la has estado interpretando?
I have a month with the piece.
Okay.
Un mes.
Yeah. I think you had a good. It felt like you had a good overall sense of what you wanted to do with it. In terms of how you are kind of thinking about it musically, do you have ideas, for example, that certain parts of the harmony should sound different, and things that you're doing on the repeat? Is that stuff that you're thinking about at the moment?
Ok, comenta Alexandra que en términos generales se siente que si tienes una idea de lo que quieres hacer con la pieza, sin embargo, quiere saber si tienes claro ciertos aspectos en cuanto a, por ejemplo, cambios armónicos o donde hay repeticiones, si tienes claro qué hacer en esos momentos musicalmente.
Ok. Sí tengo una idea, pero no la termino de moldear, no me termina de convencer lo que quiero hacer, y eso como que me pone en duda y no sé realmente qué hacer con los matices a veces.
Okay. Gaspar mentions that he has an overall idea, general idea, but in certain aspects he's not very clear of exactly what to do, or he's not entirely convinced of what he's doing. And
maybe it's best if we go through, because if there are things that you're specifically not completely into, I completely understand that I have things like that sometimes where we don't necessarily think about certain things, and then we come to play them for people, and like it all of a sudden it rings in our heads and it goes, oh, that's something I should have thought about. Like that happens to all of us.
Sí, comenta Alexandra que eso ocurre en ocasiones cuando tocas una pieza y no tienes una idea clara de lo que querías hacer musicalmente. Después de tiempo te das cuenta de que tenías que hacer algún tipo de interpretación o fraseo específico. Entonces, tal vez si no tienes algo en específico que quieras abordar en la pieza, pues se puede ir viendo desde un inicio.
Bueno, de hecho sí tengo como un aspecto que sí o sea, creo que es el que más me saca de onda, que es el tiempo, el manejo del tiempo, porque no la quiero tocar de forma tan metronómica la obra, como que se presta mucho rubato, pero no sé como en qué momentos quedaría bien usarlo.
Sí, okay, there is one aspect that he does want to mention or bring out with you, and it's the aspect of the tempo. He doesn't want to play it very metronomically, wants to use certain type of rubato, but doesn't know exactly where in the piece or how exactly.
Yeah, okay. I think maybe the best thing to do, so now you've played it through once, that in itself is quite a, once we play things through once, often we find it way more comfortable to go through bit by bit. So let's just take the first two lines maybe, and just see. I think maybe the phrasing allows for that. So.
Si pudieras tocar las primeras dos sistemas, por favor, para ir viendo el fraseo.
Okay.
So for you, where do you feel the phrases necessarily lie within that?
Para ti, ¿en dónde sientes que están las frases? ¿Dónde ocurren?
The first phrase is in the first four compasses.
Bars.
The semi-phrase. and
yeah.
the second semiphrase is in the other second compass.
Exactly. So if we're able to, I mean, for example, in the past the first, actually, there isn't loads going on in the melody at all. It's very sparse texturally. I mean, we have a very clear melody and accompaniment texture, but apart from that, it's not like the accompaniments filling in all of the gaps. It's very exposed to a big extent.
Sí, comenta que no hay mucho que esté sucediendo en la melodía, de hecho hay muchos espacios y no es tampoco como que el acompañamiento esté llenando esos espacios. Entonces, es correcto lo que comentas.
I think the best thing to do with things like this, to be perfectly honest, is separate the voices. So if you're unsure as to where you can do rubato and sort of pull it around a little bit, you know, you obviously can't do that before you think about the phrases. It often does go hand in hand because you can't pull something around and not know where the phrases lie. So if you're thinking, sorry, I'm still thinking in D major or A major or whatever key we were in. Like we were saying about the Giuliani, these repeated notes. Building up, and then that's when you come back down again in the last bar. So if you can think of building through those repeated Ds very slightly until the F, and then even further, so that you can actually reach to that. So that, because if you build too early, we get and that is all the same volume. And it's quite harsh.
Sí, aquí lo que comenta Alexandra es importante, al igual que lo comentó con María en el Giuliani, aunque sean 3 notas repetidas, aquí la recomendación es ir poco a poco construyendo este rango dinámico en la melodía. Pero si lo haces muy pronto al inicio de la melodía, para cuando llegas al fa y al sol, ya llegas a un rango dinámico en el que se vuelve incluso monótono tocar las piezas, las notas en ese mismo rango dinámico.
I think also what's important to remember with something like this that is a very clear texture is that if you want to pull it around, you have to pull it around thinking all the time about the melody. So whatever the melody does, I mean, if you think of, you know, often we accompany ourselves more often than not. And if the melody was to be played on a violin with a piano accompaniment, or, you know, think of when we play a concerto, for instance, you know, everything is following the melody. It's not the other way around. So if you're pulling the melody around, then the accompaniment starts to follow the melody instead of trying to pull the whole thing around simultaneously, because then we get out of time and things get displaced. Whereas if it's just the melody that is really lyrical and phrased really nicely, the accompaniment is there to kind of form a cushion around that. And do you see what I mean?
Sí, aquí lo que comenta Alexandra es importante con respecto a que lo que tú mencionabas respecto al rubato, se trata de tener claro en dónde están las frases de la melodía, porque es la melodía la que va a indicar en dónde haces el rubato, dependiendo de las frases. Y el acompañamiento está para apoyar la melodía, para sostener la melodía. Entonces, no es que se haga rubato todo el acompañamiento y la melodía sin ningún tipo de restricción, sino tener claro en dónde están las frases para poder, a partir de ahí, decidir en dónde hacer rubato.
Yeah.
I don't necessarily think there's loads and loads of scope for pulling it around too much in the first 2 sections. Just because, for example, with the harmony, the interesting things come a little bit later as well. So I think once you set the precedent for the piece, you know, and you have this nice melody that's presented really well. You know, obviously you have the chord which goes up to the B. I mean, that's obviously I think the highest that you get up to there, and then you go to the C in the second line. So I think if you wanted to you know, sort of build the tension to there, maybe do it dynamically instead of with parte. So let's maybe just try playing the first two again, and dynamically, instead of pulling it around metronome, like time-wise, rhythmically, see if you can do it more with dynamics at this point, and then save the other stuff for later.
Pudieras entonces tocar los primeros dos sistemas y trabajar más en cuestiones de mover, de movimiento que sea más en términos de dinámico y no tanto del tempo, porque lo que viene después es lo que quizás le da más posibilidades de trabajar el rubato.
Okay. Now I have to choose if I'm going to grow or going to go down in the dynamic.
Both, but just not simultaneously. I think you grow to the A, you know, you and then back down, and then and your accompaniment fits around that.
Okay.
Y el acompañamiento se acomoda alrededor de la melodía.
Okay. Yeah.
I think you could do it even more, but I also
bien.
know when you're being told to do something, it always feels like you're doing it too much, even when it's not enough. So I think if you can exaggerate it to the point where you feel like it's too much for the audience, it'll be enough.
Sí, ella cree que todavía se puede mejorar más, se puede trabajar un poco más ese rango dinámico y sabe que a veces cuando se le pide uno hacer ese tipo de cuestiones, cree que lo está haciendo. Entonces hay que exagerar un poco más.
Sí.
Good. I'm sorry, the 2 bars were nuts. 2 bars very, very quickly because of my internet connection. But that was loads better.
Estuvo mejor. Muy bien.
Okay.
I mean, we'll move on from this now. But I'm just thinking, tone-wise, with something so exposed and so intimate, I'd be tempted to see how sweet a tone you could get on the. I mean, I'd be tempted to even do apoyando repeated I. I mean, you can't do repeated I on that anyway, but repeated M, sorry. Just on the repeated Ds. Apoyando. I mean, you can't do apoyando in certain parts, so make the most of it when you can, because obviously it'll disrupt the accompaniment. But I'd also be careful that the second beat's too loud sometimes. As long as we don't necessarily need it rhythmically, it's just there to support the harmony. So I think. You know, I think there, we've got bare fifths there until the F comes back in. So that's probably the important, that's providing us with that minor harmony again, really. Yeah, that was much better though, that was much better.
Aquí una observación que está haciendo Alexandra es con respecto al timbre, al sonido que estás sacando, sería... ella incluso te recomendaría buscar la forma de en los lugares donde la obra lo permita, hacer apoyando, incluso si es posible, repitiendo dedo M.
Okay.
Let's try the next two systems.
Si pudiéramos pasar a los siguientes sistemas.
Good. It felt like you put more into that musically, I think. But that also could be because there is more musically in the music. There's more harmonic interest in the music.
Aquí se sintió que le pusiste más intención musical en esta parte. Estuvo muy bien. Al mismo tiempo, la obra tiene más interés musical en esta parte.
Yeah, I think that was really nice. The only thing I'd be careful with, I know that maybe you're trying to harbor on to that diminished chord. Just be careful of the rhythm, because what's happening is we get... We kind of get... Oh, wait. So we kind of get another beat within the bar somewhere. It kind of becomes a little bit longer than it needs to be.
Aquí que tengas cuidado. Más durar.
So I think there is a way that you can. There's a way that you can draw attention to that chord, because that's obviously kind of the most dissonance we've had, really, and still stay in 3/4. You know, so you can have. You could draw attention to it by making that loud, and when you go up to the F, even though it's higher, you might feel more natural to do, which is fine. But I think maybe even, you know, you could really draw people in if you know, it's so like.
Sí, aquí lo que comenta Alexandra es que entiende que estás buscando darle atención a ese acorde, que es el acorde disminuido, que es el acorde más disonante hasta este momento de la pieza, pero procurar que sea esa atención en términos tímbricos y no afectando el pulso rítmico de 3/4.
Sí, de hecho a eso me refería con el uso del rubato, o sea, porque lo quería usar en función de la acorde, pero no sabía si estaba bien hecho. A eso me refería.
Yes, Gaspar says that, that's exactly what he meant at the beginning when he was saying that he wasn't sure how to apply the rubato in certain parts. That's what he was referring to.
Yeah, I completely agree that, you know, metronomically it would be lacking something. So I completely agree with, you know, you want to put a little bit more flexibility into it. It is, like you say, it's choosing where, because if you put it in the wrong place, it's a completely opposite effect. So if you put it in the right place, all of a sudden it opens all these doors and it sounds like such a complete piece. I think somewhere like that. Sorry. We're in mine. But
sí.
Yeah.
Comenta Alexandra que está totalmente de acuerdo contigo en que no debe de ser una pieza que se ejecute metronómicamente muy precisa, muy riguroso, y sí tiene que ser una pieza que aplique ciertos rubatos, pero tienes que saber exactamente dónde ponerlo, porque si lo pones en el lugar incorrecto, pierde sentido, y por otro lado, si lo haces en el lugar indicado, se abren todas estas posibilidades de interpretación, ¿no?
Brilliant. Okay, let's move on to the next part, the harmonics. I thought you did these well, actually. That's not easy to play, you know, accompaniment with harmonics.
No es fácil ejecutar acompañamiento con armónicos y lo tocaste muy bien. Si podemos pasar esa parte.
Okay. Me pasó lo mismo con el acorde disminuido.
He did the same with the diminished chord.
Yeah, I mean, I think what I was going to say with that, one thing that you could do the same, obviously, I think you roll it, because if you did, it's quite harsh. I think with this,
yeah, actually, I'm González. How do you play that?
If you could find a way that you could roll it, I mean, yeah. If you play, so you play P, M, and then use A and I.
Yeah.
P, M, I, A.
It's not the most natural feeling, but it does work.
Yeah.
No es la sensación más natural, pero funciona.
I think it'd be worth it with something like that because, I mean, like I was saying earlier, we have a piece that's so intimate and quite exposed and it's quite simple texture, but there's also quite a lot going on. In a part like this, it goes even further back and it's stripped further back because we have less volume because of the nature of harmonics. And we also have this very, very delicate melody going on in the harmonics. And I think to play it very, very, you know, sorry. I mean, it's got a very, like the harmonics have a very unique sound. So I think that's what is the interesting part in that. But if you can add more of the sweetness that you had to the last part, that would also help it not sound as da, because we have a note on every single beat. And it's only really broken up when you have the quaver, the 8th note in bar 21. Up until then, it's just da. If you can have something to break that, the metronomic feeling that it gives, I think, you know, rolling that chord and the harmonic being on top would be, I think that would kind of help.
Sí, aquí comenta Alexandra que en esta parte es interesante que la melodía, al ejecutarse en armónicos, por sí mismo ya es un cierto interés musical, puesto que es un timbre distinto, pero al mismo tiempo buscar repetir la dinámica que se estuvo trabajando en la parte anterior, en donde hay un cierto ir construyendo la dinámica de poco a más, como para que no suene que en cada tiempo hay una cosa que sucede, pero sin mayor interés musical, sino una diferenciación entre cada una de las notas y de los tiempos.
Sí.
Are you okay with that harmonic section? It sounds like you have it under your fingers really well.
Que si te sientes bien en esa parte de armónicos, suena como que la tienes bien dominada.
Sí, sí me siento bien. No, de repente tiemblo y por eso es más fácil fallar ahí.
He's feeling okay, just sometimes he's shaking a little bit and it's why he misses certain notes.
Yeah, harmonics are difficult to get really, really accurate sometimes.
Sí, los armónicos es una cosa que es a veces ser muy preciso.
Let's do, if you're okay with all of that, I thought it sounded lovely. I think let's do the last two systems.
Sonó muy bien, si podemos hacer los últimos dos sistemas.
Nice. So obviously
Muy
here,
bien.
the melody goes onto the 4th string. We are, sorry, I'm still thinking in major. And then again, sorry, no, that's the last step. And then, I think if you can think about it more in terms of the melody and less as something you're just playing with your thumb, because what happens is the accompaniment, which is really nice, that I'm not going to attempt to start with. Sorry. I think it kind of feels quite harsher, like sinister but harsh, as opposed to sinister, like bittersweet, you know? If you could roll that and put some vibrato on it or something.
Si pudieras aquí tocar el acorde como quebrado y ponerle algo de vibrato.
Maybe just try that once more. I think main things to think about when you have something on the first string, like that, you know, when you have the accompaniment on the melody strings, I hesitate to say play it softly, because it does add it adds interest to what's happening, but treat it in the same way as you treated what was going on in the accompaniment in the first section. So still play it, you know, pay attention to the fact that it should sound sweet and you should have a nice tone, but also don't give it precedence above what's going on in the bass, because that's the melody at the moment.
Sí, aquí comenta Alexandra que es importante destacar que la melodía está en el bajo y el acompañamiento que está en las notas agudas debe de tener el mismo tratamiento que tuvo el acompañamiento en la parte inicial, un poco más discreto, efectivamente acompañando la melodía.
Oh, better. I liked sorry. One last thing I'd really say, to be honest, is, you know, if you do want to add a little bit more rubato or just kind of general sustenance to the melody, you know, don't be afraid. Whatever. You know, I think the fact that that's a completely new section, you know, compared to obviously what was happening before, we've resorted now. We've got no harmonics and we've got the melody and the bass. You know, I wouldn't be tempted to start. That's a very heavy start for, you know, for something that is closing the piece and closing quite a dark-ish piece. I mean, if you were able to get a really sweet, but I think to give yourself the best chance, you know, if you think about it being played on a cello, I mean, something like that, you know, that's definitely something to think about, because you can instantly picture it being played on a cello. And if you picture that, you definitely have, you know, there'd be so much vid going on. So I think definitely try to put that into what's going on in the bass, because it's technically impossible really to do that much with what's going on in the melody apart from there. But we still don't get, you know.
Sí, aquí comenta Alexandra que sería importante visualizar la melodía como siendo interpretada por un... comenta que, bueno, en la cuestión tímbrica tiene que destacar por sobre lo que está sucediendo en la parte de las cuerdas agudas que está acompañando, y que ella no piensa, no recomendaría que la ejecución inicial del primer acorde fuera tan, vamos a decir, presente o tan fuerte, porque dinámicamente no te da las posibilidades de jugar con el timbre, con el acompañamiento.
Yeah, I think you play it really well. I mean, what you said about you know, your main concern at the moment being wanting to pull it round a little bit. All I would say with that is imagine the melody being played on a different instrument and you're the one accompanying. You know, you're looking at whoever's playing the melody, you're following them, you're wondering what they're going to do next. You know, that's how a lot of the time we have to think as guitarists, because we play multiple voices at the same time. We are our own melody and our own accompaniment, and it's easy to forget that. And I think obviously because we only have two hands to do all of that, it's also quite difficult. But if you can take it, like physically take it apart and just play the melody, think about, you know, even just spend one practice session thinking about how you'd phrase that and where you'd leave more space, and how, you know, then you go back and you think, how does the accompaniment fit around that, as opposed to how do I make the accompaniment be that, because it is a completely different part.
Sí, aquí quiere concluir Alexandra con una recomendación para ti, que es una reflexión acerca de que como guitarristas tocamos nosotros mismos el acompañamiento y la melodía. No solo tenemos dos manos y no podemos hacer más, pero aquí la invitación es a pensar que tú estás acompañando a otro músico, un violinista, un chelista, un flautista, que está tocando la melodía, y en ese sentido, cómo ejecutar el acompañamiento en función de lo que el otro instrumentista está haciendo con la melodía. En qué momento va a entrar, cuál es el tempo que está llevando, la dinámica, y en ese sentido trabajar tu acompañamiento de tu propia melodía.
I hope all that makes sense, and yeah, it sounded good. I think it's going very well.
Espera que tenga sentido lo que te comentó.
Thank you very much for playing.
Thank you. Bye.
Muchas gracias. So, very well, Alexandra, thank you very much. Maestro Eduardo, no sé si te encuentres por ahí, que quieras hacer algún comentario final, alguna reflexión.
Sí, bueno, primeramente vamos a agradecerle a todos los asistentes, especialmente también gracias a Alexandra por su estupenda clase magistral.
Alexandra, Maestro Eduardo would like to thank you for your marvelous masterclass. Would like to thank all the attendees to the class.
También quisiera invitar obviamente a todos los asistentes, a todos los que nos escuchan y siguen la transmisión, al concierto que estará presentando el festival, el cual Alexandra tuvo a bien dedicar a este festival exclusivamente, el cual va a ser el próximo domingo a las 18 horas.
Maestro Eduardo would like also to invite everyone who is listening and attending the class to join us next Sunday, 22nd, for your recital that you have provided for our festival. And so to everybody to join us on this concert Sunday 22 at 6 p.m. Mexico's time.
Y por último, a todos también que sigan las siguientes actividades del festival a través de Facebook de la Facultad de Música. Muchas gracias.
And for everybody to follow the next activities that we'll have of the festival. Thank you, everybody.
Thank you,
Alexandra.
Thank you for watching as well.
Muchas gracias. Muchas gracias a todos. Alexandra, it's been a pleasure on behalf of Maestro Eduardo González and the School of Music of the University of Nuevo León. We would like to thank you for your masterclass, and we hope to, we're definitely going to see you next Sunday in the concert. So thank you very much, and hope to have you again sometime soon now under better circumstances.
Yes,
live
hopefully.
Performance.
Thank you very much for inviting me. I've really enjoyed it. It was a pleasure listening to the students, so thank you.
Thank you.
Bye-bye.
Gracias a todos.